Now to tonight's epic party panel. She's a Fox News contributor. She is Julie Roginski. He's an Observer columnist and a best-selling author, Michael Malice. And he is the editor of the National Review Online, as well as the author of the Conservatarian Manifesto, Charles Cook. Welcome, everyone.
Hello.
All right. Well, let's discuss some of the news of the day, including Michael Malice's area of expertise. President Trump got a taste of a potentially explosive foreign policy challenge when North Korea launched a ballistic missile over the weekend. It was just a test, and it landed in the ocean, so no big deal. But as you know, the North Koreans do have nuclear weapons, and the launch happened while the Prime Minister of Japan was in the U.S. for meetings with President Trump. So the launch was definitely meant to send a little bit of a message to the new administration. The question now, how will President Trump respond? Michael Malice, I will go to you. How should he respond to this?
Well, I think President Trump has a great opportunity with North Korea, because if Obama had kind of been conciliatory toward them, the Republicans would have hit him for kowtowing to dictators.
Yeah.
Trump has already been hit for kowtowing to dictators vis-a-vis Putin, but I think him and Kim Jong-un understand each other. They both argue from positions of strength. When Kim Jong-il, his father, was in charge of North Korea, he said to deal with America, you have to slap it across the face. And he compared North Korea controlling America to an anthill controlling an elephant, where the ants can't kill the elephant, but they can get it to move where they want it to.
Interesting.
So the metaphor for understanding North Korea is this. If you have someone robbing a bank, there's two types of people. The people who run into the bank and shoot up everybody, and the people who run to the bank and start shooting at the ceiling. Now, the second ones are the ones you want to deal with, because they're sane, they want the money, and they want to get out of there and keep everyone safe. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's not an accident these missiles aren't hitting anything.
Okay.
They could hit Seoul very easily. They could have done that since the 50s. And whenever they're launching missiles, they're launching into the sea, kind of as a saber-rattling thing, because that's how they get food and money, which is what they want.
Okay, they want food and money. The sanctions don't work with North Korea.
But, right, the people end up starving.
Yes, exactly right. But see, that's where I wonder about your analogy, because when they do starve their own people, when they say, yeah, fine, take our money away, that's great. I see that as the person who walks into the bank and just starts shooting people indiscriminately, because they obviously throw people into labor camps.
Sure.
You know, this regime is not averse to killing its own.
Correct.
And therefore, you know, rational arguments aren't going to work with them.
Right. Well, rational arguments will, but the sanctions when the sanctions hit and the people are starving, they say you're starving because of the Americans.
Yeah.
And since the people have no access to outside information, that's not going to be useful. And the other point is, every regime, if you look at Iraq, if you look at Libya, when regimes go down, the people at the top are personally killed. And the North Korean regime knows this perfectly well, that if they go down, they are going to be shot along with their families, as well they should be. So this is a very interesting thing where they have to have someone who's going to give them a parachute to escape, just like Reagan and Thatcher gave Gorbachev an escape to kind of break apart the Soviet Union without bloodshed.
That's absolutely right. Is Kim Jong-un as rational as Gorbachev?
Is Trump?
Is he? I will ask you the same question, young man.
I don't think he's as rational.
Yeah.
No. I also don't think he's as constrained. I'm half joking with Trump. There are two Trumps. Obviously, presidents always get tested early on in their tenure. There's the Donald Trump that says things on Twitter and that seems to make policy up on the fly. And then there's the Donald Trump that hired General Mattis, the Donald Trump who seems to be surrounded by some smart people. If you look at some of the executive orders, they've been very well thought through. They were probably drawn up when Romney was running.
Yeah.
You look at the others, written on the back of a napkin. So I think that the experts in the field are probably going to prevail here.
All right, so what should the president do about North Korea in the face of this ballistic missile test?
The president tweeted something back in 2012 during a very similar incident, and I will quote from the Twitter of Donald Trump saying, "We can't even stop the Norks," which I assume are the North Koreans, from blasting a missile. China is laughing at us. It is really sad. Well, what I think is very coincidental about this is this came not just on the heels of when Shinzo Abe was visiting this country, which I think was a message to both nations, but also a day or two after Donald Trump effectively caved on the one China policy, after making a big stink about it and the fact that he was going to reopen negotiations or relations with Taiwan. He backed off. So it's not a surprise.
Yeah, he at first said we will not be dictated to in terms of our China policy. We will decide whether it's a one China policy.
Right, and then obviously the premier of China would not take his phone calls, and so lo and behold, he suddenly decided to come out and say that we support a one China policy. The reason I say that is because China, as Michael could tell better than anybody else, is North Korea is to some extent a client state of China.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as a result,
so when there are sanctions imposed by the UN and the rest of the world,
right.
China is there to help prop up their economy. Will
right.
China come in to save the day diplomatically between the US and North Korea?
No, not really, because North Korea is kind of getting on China's nerves, but there's nothing they can really do about it.
Yeah.
It's a really difficult situation for everybody.
Right. Yeah, no, North Korea is now the family member that China has to put up with, but they're almost at the point where they're going to come out.
Correct.
All right, the party panel is returning a little bit later. I like the Cougs. Woo! See? Never had one lesson. There's word Russian President Vladimir Putin has finally picked a housewarming gift for our new president. It's NSA leaker Edward Snowden. That, according to NBC News, the report claims Russia is trying to curry favor with the new administration. And during the campaign, President Trump often called Snowden a traitor and said he should be executed. Snowden has said that he is, quote, not afraid of returning to the U.S. He's also said the potential deal is proof he's not a spy, because he says the Russians would never hand over a spy. So should Snowden start packing his bags to come back to these United States? The party panel is back to discuss. Julie Roginski, Michael Malice, and Charles Cook. So, Julie, I will start with you, as you are one of two Russians on the panel.
I am. Well, wait a second. I am the real Russian here. Are you from Ukraine or somewhere?
Oh,
my gosh.
Oh, hell no.
Russian now.
Hell no.
Yeah. What?
Just threw it down.
Okay, so Snowden says, obviously, I'm not a spy because Russia would never do that to one of their own.
That's twice you got me.
Well, this is what happens when you squeeze the juice out of the lemon, and then the lemon gets thrown in the garbage.
The juice or Jews?
The juice.
Okay,
no,
checking.
no, the two Jews are on the end here.
Oh,
no, the juice.
So what? A little early. Thank you.
So what ends up happening is he's obviously disposable and dispensable now, because whatever they have gotten out of Edward Snowden, they got upon arrival in Moscow.
Yeah.
And whether he returns him intact or not intact to the United States is irrelevant. He's not sending him back. The real question. The real point here is he's not sending him back. But it's fun to speculate, because
no, it is an interesting thing to speculate about, because it makes sense for Russia, because they want to do us a giant favor and then we owe them something.
Right, but I don't think this is actually that much of a favor, because I think it would be a big headache for President Trump and the administration. They don't really want this person executed. That's him being blustery.
Yeah.
And I think Snowden has enough support on both sides of the aisle. It doesn't cut across Democratic or Republican lines where this wouldn't be some kind of instant slam dunk. So I think this is just them kind of playing footsie with each other in public. I think people are sending out little trial balloons, but this relationship is going to be getting much, much weirder over the next 4 years.
Oh, interesting. So what do you think is going to happen here? Does Snowden stay in Russia, or does he extradite? Does he self-deport?
Well, I think he stays. Here's what I don't get two things about this story.
Yeah.
One, how much more favor with Trump does Putin think he can curry? I mean, Putin, according to Trump, is on a moral level with the United States. That's a pretty emphatic statement. Secondly, given that Donald Trump is president and said he would execute him, why is Snowden not scared to come back to the United States? I would be.
Yeah, no, he says he's not scared, he's not worried, and his lawyers at the ACLU say, we haven't heard of any sort of deal like this. I think it's the kind of thing where Hillary's people every couple weeks say she's going to run for president in 2020, she's going to run for mayor, she's going to run Disney.
Yeah.
She's going to run Disney?
No, I just started.
You just gave me a heart attack.
That's crazy.
That wouldn't be crazy. It's like Betsy DeVos running the Department of Education. Thank you so much, Charles, Michael, and Julie. So much intelligence concentrated in 3 big brains. Coming up, Jamie Colby, va-va-voom, here to preview a couple of brand new episodes of Strange Inheritance, including a priceless collection of celebrity autographs. You may want to buy these. Get your checkbook out. It's coming up next.